What if your struggle isn't coming from life, but from the way you've been trying to prove you deserve it? Just let that question rest in your chest for a moment, the way a warm cup rests in your hands on a cold morning. Notice what happens in your body as you hear it. Maybe a tightening, maybe a softening, maybe a quiet yes that surprises you. Because so many of us were taught, without anyone meaning harm, that peace is something you get after you've done enough, fixed enough, healed enough, achieved enough, held it together long enough, and you've been trying so hard. I see that, I honor that, and yet you're tired. Not the kind of tired a nap solves, the deeper the tired, the tiredness that comes from being at war with your own life. If you've been craving peace lately with a kind of hunger you can't explain, it's because something in you is waking up to the truth that struggle is not a requirement for worthiness. Your heart already knows this, even if your mind has been arguing with it for years. So let's sit together right here, in this moment, like we're on the same side of the table, not to push you into some unrealistic calm, and not to pretend your life isn't real, but to help you remember a power you may have forgotten. You can choose peace, starting today. And yes, I said today. Not when your to-do list is done, not when other people finally cooperate, not when the anxiety disappears forever. Today, inside the life you actually have. Because peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the absence of abandoning yourself while problems are present. You've been carrying this idea, maybe quietly, maybe loudly, that tension keeps you safe, that if you relax, you'll lose control, that if you soften, you'll fall behind, that if you stop struggling, you'll become irresponsible, lazy, or careless. And if that belief lives inside you, I want you to hear this with deep compassion. That belief was once a survival strategy. It may have been how you got through a childhood where you had to be good to be loved, or an environment where you had to be strong because no one else was, or a season of life where you learned that the moment you let your guard down, something painful happened. So of course your system learned to stay braced. Of course you learned to grip the steering wheel even when the road is straight. There's nothing wrong with you for having learned that. You're not imagining this. You're not too sensitive, too dramatic, too much. You're someone who adapted. And now, the adaptation is costing you. Have you noticed that even when things go well, you still feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? Have you noticed how your mind keeps running scenarios as if scanning for danger is the same as being prepared? Have you noticed how hard it is to fully receive something good because some part of you believes you don't get to rest until you've paid for it with effort? This is important to hear. Struggle can become an identity. Not because you're weak and not because you're failing, but because when you've lived in survival for long enough, struggling starts to feel like home. It becomes familiar. Your heart already knows this. It just needs a pathway. Now let's speak directly to the part of you that thinks peace will make you complacent. Many high-achieving, deeply responsible people fear peace because they believe pressure is what makes them effective. But pressure is not the same as devotion. You can be devoted without being violent to yourself. You can be disciplined without being cruel. You can be ambitious without being anxious. And when you choose peace, you don't lose your edge. You refine it. You become clearer. You stop scattering your energy. You start doing what matters most. Because struggle wastes energy. Peace concentrates it. Have you noticed how much energy goes into worry? How much energy goes into replaying conversations? How much energy goes into resisting feelings? That energy can return to you, and when it returns, you will have more life, more creativity, more love, more breath. Now we're entering the heart of this transformation, the place where it becomes more than ideas. Choosing peace is a daily devotion to your own inner safety, and inner safety is not created by perfect circumstances. It's created by consistent self-connection. So here is a practice you can begin today, and it takes less than a minute. 3 times today, just 3, pause and ask yourself, what do I feel right now? Not what you think, not what you should feel. What do you feel? Name it simply. Tired, overwhelmed, sad, hopeful, angry, numb, anxious, and then add one sentence, and I can be with this. This is peace, not fixing, being with. When you can be with your experience, you stop struggling against yourself. And when you stop struggling against yourself, life becomes lighter even before it changes. Now, because this is sacred work, I want to weave in one more gentle reminder for your well-being. If you're carrying anxiety or depression or deep-sea stress that feels overwhelming, it's wise to honor what your body and healthcare providers guide you toward. These practices can beautifully support your wellness journey alongside professional care and your healing support system. Peace is not about doing it alone. Peace is about allowing support. Now, let's talk about the moment you forget, because you will. You will get pulled into a stressful day. You will snap. You will overthink. You will fall back into old patterns. And here is where most people create struggle again. They shame themselves for forgetting. They say, I'm back at 0. But you are not back at 0. You are practicing. And practice includes returning. So when you notice you're in struggle, I want you to do something radically kind. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Try, oh, there I go. Like you're watching a beloved friend. Oh, there I go, tightening again. And then one breath, one longer exhale, one hand on the body, and one phrase that becomes your touchstone. Choose a touchstone phrase now. something you can carry. Here are a few you might like. I return to peace. I don't have to fight. I can handle this. I am safe enough. I'm with me. Pick one that feels true in your mouth, and when struggle rises, you repeat it, not to erase reality, but to anchor yourself in it, because peace is not leaving your life. Peace is staying present in your life. Now I want to speak about something subtle, something many people never name. Sometimes you choose struggle because peace would require you to feel the grief you've been outrunning. Struggle can be a distraction, a way to stay busy so you don't have to feel the emptiness, the longing, the sadness, the disappointment. So if you begin choosing peace and you suddenly feel a wave of emotion, don't panic. That's not failure. That's thawing. That's your heart trusting you enough to finally speak. And you don't have to process it perfectly. You just have to be willing to be honest. You might sit for 2 minutes and breathe. You might put your hand on your heart and say, I'm listening. You might let a tear come. You might write one sentence, what hurts is. This is peace too. Peace is the courage to feel. Now we're nearing the place where this becomes a promise you make to yourself, not a future promise, a present one. So I want you to imagine, gently, the version of you who lives from peace. Not a perfect version, a real version. This version still has problems, still has responsibilities, still has emotions. But this version does not add cruelty. This version does not rush as a religion. This version does not confuse tension with love. This version breathes. This version chooses. This version returns. And as you move forward, you may start to notice something subtle. You may notice your reactions soften. You may notice you pause before you over-explain. You may notice you don't chase the same approval. You may notice your body asks for water, for sleep, for sunlight, and you actually listen. You may notice your yes becomes cleaner and your no becomes kinder. And when you look back months from now, you may recognize this moment as a turning point, not because life became perfect, but because you stopped leaving yourself in the middle of it. Now let's bring this home, very gently, very clearly. Choosing peace over struggle starting today is not one decision you make once. It's 1,000 small decisions you make with tenderness. It's choosing to breathe instead of brace. It's choosing to speak to yourself with respect. It's choosing to prioritize instead of panic. It's choosing to tell the truth instead of performing. It's choosing to rest without guilt. It's choosing to ask for help. It's choosing to stop earning what was never meant to be earned. And if that feels like a lot, remember, you only have to choose the next peaceful thing, the next kind thing, the next true thing. Right now, notice your body again. Notice if you've been holding your breath. Invite a slow exhale. Let your shoulders drop. Let your tongue relax from the roof of your mouth. Feel your feet, even if it's just a faint sensation. and place a gentle hand on your heart if that feels right. Now say, silently or softly, "Today I choose peace." And if another part of you whispers, "But what if I can't?" you can answer with compassion, "Then I will choose it again." Because that's what love does. It returns. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are simply at a moment of remembering. Somewhere deep inside, you've always known. Peace was never meant to be a prize at the end of suffering. Peace is your nature. Struggle was something you learned, and what is learned can be unlearned, gently, patiently, with devotion. So as you move into the rest of your day, carry this with you like a warm light in your pocket. Not to force yourself to be calm, just to remember you have a choice. When you feel the tension rise, you can ask, "Is this struggle necessary?" And if it isn't, you can soften, you can breathe, you can return. And even if life is still loud, even if the world is still demanding, even if other people don't understand your shift, your inner home can become quiet, steady, safe. And from that home, you will meet everything with a different kind of strength. The strength that doesn't need to fight to be real. And in that space, peace becomes your way of living. It becomes the language your nervous system speaks. And peace can feel unfamiliar. Peace can feel like standing in a quiet room after years of loud noise. At first your ears ring. Your body doesn't trust the silence. Your mind starts creating reasons to fill it. So if peace has felt hard to access, you're not doing it wrong. You're not failing at spirituality. You're not low vibration. You're simply meeting the edge of an old pattern. And the old pattern sounds like this: "I'll be at peace when I finish this project, when I lose the weight, when the kids are older, when my partner changes, when my finances stabilize, when I finally figure out what I'm doing with my life, when I stop feeling this way." And the problem with when is that it moves. It keeps moving, because life keeps being life. So what if choosing peace isn't quitting, but choosing a different engine to live from? What if peace is not passivity, but presence? What if peace is not giving up, but giving yourself back to yourself? Your heart already knows this, and that's why you're here. Something in you recognizes that the old way, the clenched way, the braced way, is not the only way. Let's make this very real, very practical. Struggle is not always an external circumstance. Struggle is often an internal posture, and you can feel it. Right now, as you sit with me, notice your shoulders. Are they lifted as if carrying invisible weight? Notice your jaw. Is it holding words you haven't said? Notice your belly. Is it tight, as if preparing for impact? This is where struggle lives first, in the body. Because struggle isn't just a thought, it's a state. It's a pattern of activation that says, something is wrong, and it's my job to fix it right now. And that state can become so normal that you don't even notice it anymore. You call it productivity, you call it ambition, you call it responsibility, you call it being a good person. But beneath those labels is often a silent vow. I will not relax until everyone is okay. I will not rest until I am perfect. I will not feel safe until I control the outcome. I will not be loved unless I earn it. And if you feel a little ache as you hear those, that's not weakness. That's recognition. That's your heart tapping gently on the door saying, we're ready for something different. If you've been feeling irritated by high-vibe advice lately, it's because your soul is demanding honesty, not positivity, honesty. And honesty sounds like this. Yes, life is challenging, and I can meet it without wounding myself. Choosing peace does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop punishing yourself as a way of caring. Let that settle for a moment, because some part of you has been using struggle as proof that you're a good person, that you're trying, that you're devoted, that you're worthy. And I want to say something tender and true. You do not have to suffer to be good. You do not have to be exhausted to be worthy. You do not have to be on the verge of breaking to deserve support. Peace is not something you earn. Peace is something you allow. Now, I know that can sound like a lovely phrase, and you've heard lovely phrases before, so I want to bring you into the mechanics, the actual doorway, so this becomes something you can live. There's a very specific moment when struggle hooks you. It usually happens like this. Something occurs, an email, a tone of voice, a financial worry, a memory, a mess in the kitchen, a deadline, a body sensation. And before your mind even forms a sentence, your body braces. A subtle tightening, a quick, shallow breath, a lift in the shoulders, a narrowing behind the eyes. And then the mind arrives to justify the bracing. It shouldn't be like this. They shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't be like this. I have to fix this. I'm behind. I'm failing. I'm alone. That is the hook. And here's the part most people miss. The struggle isn't the event. The struggle is the story your body tries to survive through. So the first act of choosing peace is not a big, dramatic decision. It's a micro moment of noticing. Oh, I'm bracing. I'm tightening. Oh, I'm leaving myself. And the second act is even more powerful. You return. Not by forcing calm, not by shaming yourself for being activated, not by pretending you don't care. You return by offering your body a new message. I'm here. We're safe enough in this moment. We can handle this one breath at a time. We don't have to fight to be okay. Just feel the difference between fighting and handling. Fighting says, this is unacceptable. Handling says, this is here and I am here too. What if I told you that peace is not a mood? It's a relationship. A relationship with yourself. Because when you have peace, What you really have is self-loyalty. You have inner alignment. You have the willingness to stay with yourself even when things are messy. And when you don't have peace, what's often happening is not that you're broken, it's you're split. Part of you is present, and part of you is running. Part of you is breathing, and part of you is bracing. Part of you is living, and part of you is rehearsing disaster. So let's reunite you, gently. Here's what I've come to understand. The nervous system doesn't change through arguments. It changes through experiences. You can't think your way into peace. You can practice your way into peace, not with force, with repetition, with kindness, with small, consistent returns. I want to give you a few practices you can use today. Not 10, not 20, just a few that go deep. And as you listen, you're allowed to take what resonates and leave the rest. You have choice here. You always have choice. First, peace begins with naming the cost of struggle. This is not to blame you. It's to wake you up gently. Struggle costs you in ways you may have normalized. It costs you sleep, even when you technically sleep. It costs you presence, even when you're physically there. It costs you joy, because joy requires softness. It costs you love, because love requires receptivity. It costs you creativity, because creativity requires space. And if you've been living in constant tension, you may have started to believe that this cost is just adulthood, just life, just reality. But something in you is saying, no. Have you noticed how a single peaceful moment can restore you more than an hour of scrolling ever could? Have you noticed how the body heals in softness, not in fight? Have you noticed how your intuition speaks when you are quiet enough to hear it? You are not designed to live at war. You are designed to live in rhythm. And peace is rhythm. It's the ability to move and pause, to act and rest, to engage and release. Struggle is rigidity. Struggle is holding your breath through your entire life. So today we begin with breath, not as a cliché, as a signal. Right now, gently inhale and let your exhale be slightly longer than your inhale. That longer exhale tells your body, we are not being chased. Do it again, and notice if your shoulders drop even 1 millimeter. That millimeter matters, because peace is not a switch, it's a spiral. You return again and again, and each return builds trust. Now here is the second practice, and it's one of the most life-changing things you can do, especially if you're someone who has been carrying a lot. Stop making yourself the enemy. This sounds simple, and it's not. Because if you've been struggling for a long time, your inner voice may have become harsh as a way to keep you moving. It may sound like motivation, but it's actually fear wearing a productive outfit. It says, do more, try harder, don't mess up, be better. Why are you like this? What's wrong with you? And every time you speak to yourself that way, your body hears danger. Your body doesn't know the difference between an external threat and internal attack. So peace begins when your inner voice becomes a safe place to land. You don't have to be perfectly kind overnight, but you can begin with one sentence. When you notice yourself bracing, say softly, out loud if you can, "Sweetheart, I'm here." Or if that feels too tender, too unfamiliar, too much, try this. "I'm with you." Just those words. Because struggle thrives in isolation, even self-isolation. Peace grows in companionship. And yes, I mean companionship with your own heart. Somewhere deep inside you've always known that the way you treat yourself is the way you experience life. And life has been asking you to be gentler. If you've been making everything urgent, it's because your system learned that urgency equals safety. But urgency is not safety. Urgency is pressure. So here's a third practice, and it's very grounded. Replace urgency with priority. Urgency says, everything matters equally, and it must be done now. Priority says, this matters most, and I can give it my attention with steadiness. Do you feel the difference? Urgency tightens the chest. Priority steadies the breath. So when you feel that rush, when your mind speeds up, when your body gets hot, when you start multitasking like you're being timed, pause and ask one honest question. What is the next kind thing? Not the next impressive thing, not the next perfect thing, not the next thing that proves your worth, the next kind thing. It might be a glass of water. It might be sending one email, not 5. It might be stepping outside for 60 seconds. It might be saying no. It might be asking for help. It might be doing the task slowly with your shoulders relaxed. This is the part of peace people don't talk about. Peace is often slower than your trauma thinks you're allowed to be. And slower is not unsafe. Slower is wisdom. Now I want to open a loop gently, because there's something here that most spiritual conversations skip. There is a hidden addiction to struggle. And before you judge yourself, hear me. It's not an addiction of character, it's an addiction of chemistry. When you live in stress, your body becomes accustomed to certain hormones, certain spikes, certain cycles, and calm can feel like emptiness at first. That's why some people finally rest and then feel anxious, or they get a free day and then suddenly feel sad, or they sit down and their mind starts screaming. You're not broken, you're detoxing from a pattern. So when you choose peace, you may initially meet discomfort, not because peace is wrong, but because your system is adjusting to a new baseline. This is important to hear. The discomfort is not a sign to go back to struggle. It's a sign you're changing, like a muscle stretching after years of tightness. So if you try to soften and you feel restless, don't punish yourself. Don't declare failure. Just name it. Oh, my body is learning. And then offer the body something steady. One hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. A longer exhale. A simple phrase. I can be here. Now, let's return to the loop I opened. The hidden addiction to struggle often comes from a deeper belief. If I'm not struggling, I'm not valuable. And that belief is old. It might have come from family patterns where love was given for achievement, or from culture that glorifies hustle, or from relationships where you had to overgive to be chosen. So choosing peace is not just self-care, it's spiritual liberation. It's saying, I will no longer worship exhaustion. It's saying, I will no longer call suffering devotion. It's saying, I am allowed to be well. And you might feel a part of you resist that. A part might say, who do you think you are? And this is where compassion becomes power. Because the part that resists peace is often the part that kept you alive. So we don't exile it, we don't shame it, we don't fight it, we thank it. You might even whisper, thank you for trying to protect me. And you can rest now. Can you feel how that changes the inner landscape? You're not battling yourself anymore. You're leading yourself. That is peace. Now let's talk about what peace is not, because this matters. Peace is not avoiding necessary conversations. Peace is not staying in harmful situations and pretending you're enlightened. Peace is not spiritual bypassing. Peace is clarity. Peace can say no with a soft face. Peace can leave with a steady heart. Peace can set boundaries without hatred. Peace can feel anger without becoming violent inside. Because peace is not the absence of emotion. Peace is the absence of inner war. So if you've been judging yourself for having feelings, that's part of the struggle. Your feelings are not the enemy. Your feelings are messages. And when you listen, you don't have to fight. Here's a gentle way to practice that today. When you feel upset, instead of immediately asking, how do I fix this? Ask, what is this asking from me? Maybe it's asking for rest. Maybe it's asking for honesty. Maybe it's asking for a boundary. Maybe it's asking for grief to be witnessed. Maybe it's asking for you to stop shrinking. Your heart already knows this, and your body already recognizes this truth when you stop rushing past it. Notice your breath again. Notice if you're breathing high in your chest. Invite the breath down just a little, like you're making room for yourself. Now, I want to offer you a reframe that can change your entire day. Struggle says, I have to get through life. Peace says, I get to be with life. Struggle is a tunnel. Peace is a landscape. And the landscape includes hard things. It includes storms. It includes grief. It includes uncertainty. But it also includes you, not just as a doer, but as a being. So many people live as if they are only valuable in their doing. And peace is the moment you remember, You are valuable in your being. You are valuable because you exist. Let that land fully. Now, because this title says, starting today, I want to make this very specific. We're not building an idealized version of you. We're working with the you who is right here. So let's explore the places where struggle most often shows up for you. For many people, it shows up in the morning. You wake up, and before your feet hit the floor, your mind starts listing what's wrong, what's missing, what needs to be done. You haven't even met the day yet, and you're already fighting it. If that's you, here's one small shift you can begin today. Before you look at your phone, before you solve anything, put one hand on your heart and say, "Today, I choose peace over struggle." Not as a magic spell, as a direction. You are setting a compass, and if you want to deepen it, add one more sentence. I will return to myself whenever I forget. Because you will forget. And forgetting doesn't mean you're failing. Forgetting means you're human. For others, struggle shows up in relationships. You anticipate rejection. You over-explain. You read between lines until you're exhausted. You take responsibility for other people's moods. If that's you, peace today might look like this. You stop guessing. You stop mind reading. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head like you're on trial. And instead, you come back to your own center and ask, what do I know for sure? Not what you fear, not what you assume, not what your old wounds predict. What do you know for sure? Maybe you know you're feeling anxious. Maybe you know you need clarity. Maybe you know you want to be spoken to with respect. Maybe you know you're tired of chasing. Peace starts with the truth you can actually stand on. And from that truth, you can speak simply. I need a little time. I'm not available for that. I want to understand what you mean. I'm not okay with being spoken to that way. Simple, clean, no struggle. And for many people, struggle shows up around self-worth. You compare yourself, you measure, you judge your progress, you turn your healing into another achievement. And if you've been doing that, I want to be very gentle and very direct. Healing is not a performance. You don't get graded on how spiritual you are. You are allowed to be messy and still be worthy. You are allowed to be learning and still be lovable. You are allowed to not have it all figured out and still be deeply guided. Somewhere deep inside, you've always known the part of you that's racing is not the truest part of you. So let's meet the truer part. The truer part of you does not need to struggle to deserve peace. The truer part of you is peace underneath the noise. And this is where a metaphor can help, not to be poetic, but to be clear. Think of peace like the sky. Your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances, they are weather. The sky does not fight the weather, it holds it. It allows clouds and sun, storms and stillness. Peace is the sky-like part of you. Struggle is the part of you that thinks it has to control the weather to be safe. So today, you are learning to be the sky again. And you do that by returning to the body, because the body is always in the present moment, and the present moment is where peace lives. Here is a simple body return you can do any time today, even in the middle of chaos. It takes 10 seconds. You press your feet into the ground. You feel the contact. You let your exhale drop. And you name 3 things you can see: a wall, a plant, a cup, light on the floor, your hands. This tells your nervous system, we are here. And when you are here, you don't have to struggle with imagined futures. You handle what is actually in front of you. This practice is so small that the mind will dismiss it. And that's how you know it's powerful. Because the mind that's addicted to struggle wants big, dramatic solutions. Peace often arrives in small, honest moments. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that says, but my life really is hard. Yes, it is. And I'm not here to minimize that with pretty words. You may be carrying responsibilities that are heavy. You may be navigating grief. You may be working in an environment that drains you. You may be caring for others while neglecting yourself. You may be rebuilding after a loss. You may be living with uncertainty that feels relentless. This hasn't been an easy journey for you, and I see how much you've done just to keep going. So many souls are walking through this exact transformation, feeling exactly what you're feeling, and yet here you are, still listening, still open, still willing. That takes immense courage, even if you don't call it that. So when I say choose peace, I am not telling you to pretend. I'm offering you a different way to carry what you carry. Because struggle adds a second layer of pain to the original pain. Life has challenges. Struggle is the extra suffering we add by resisting reality, resisting ourselves, resisting the moment. And you can release that layer, one breath at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of self-loyalty at a time. Now there's another open loop I want to place gently here, because it changes everything. Choosing peace requires grieving the identity of the struggler. And many people don't talk about that. Because if you've been the strong one, the responsible one, the one who handles it, the one who never needs anything, then letting go of struggle can feel like losing yourself. It can feel like, who am I without the fight? So if you feel a little fear at the idea of peace, that might be what it is. Not fear of peace itself, but fear of who you become when you no longer need struggle to define you. And here's what I want you to hear. You don't lose yourself. You find yourself. You find the self that was under the armor. The self that didn't need to prove anything to be loved. The self that could breathe. The self that could receive. The self that could trust. And yes, that self might feel vulnerable at first. so we go gently. You're not being asked to drop all defenses overnight. You're being invited to soften one edge, to unclench one fist, to release one unnecessary battle. Today, choose one place in your day where you will practice peace on purpose. Just one. Maybe it's during your first cup of tea or coffee. You will not scroll, you will breathe and be. Maybe it's in traffic. You will notice your jaw and you will soften it. Maybe it's in your inbox. You will do one email at a time with your shoulders relaxed. Maybe it's in a conversation. You will listen without preparing your defense. Maybe it's in the mirror. You will speak to yourself with respect. One place. Because peace grows through evidence. Your body needs evidence that peace is safe. So we give it evidence. Now, I want to share a brief story because sometimes a story lets truth enter without resistance. I once knew someone who lived like every day was an emergency. Even on days off, her body stayed braced. She would finish one task and immediately search for the next, like stillness was dangerous. One afternoon, she finally sat down and noticed her hands were clenched in her lap, even though nothing was happening. She opened her palms slowly, like she was releasing something she'd been holding for years, and she whispered, "I don't have to fight today." That moment didn't change her whole life instantly, but it changed her relationship with herself, and everything else began to follow. You're being given that same moment, maybe not dramatically, maybe quietly, but it's here. Now let's return to the second open loop, the grieving. If you choose peace, you may grieve the years you spent struggling. You may feel sadness for the softness you postponed. You may feel anger that you were taught love had to be earned. You may feel tenderness for the version of you who didn't know another way. Let those feelings be allowed. Peace is not numbness. Peace is spaciousness. It's the space where feelings can move through without becoming your prison. So if tears come, that can be peace too. If a deep exhale comes, that can be peace too. If a boundary comes, that can be peace too. Peace is the truth of you without the war. Now let's talk about the mind, because the mind will try to negotiate. It will say, "This is nice, but it won't work for me." Or, "I tried peace, I got hurt." Or, "If I don't stay vigilant, something bad will happen." And again, we don't fight the mind. We understand it. The mind is not the enemy. The mind is a protector. But the mind doesn't always know what time it is. It may be responding as if you are still in an old season, so you can speak to your mind like you would speak to a worried child. "I hear you. Thank you. And we are safe enough right now." Safe enough. Not perfectly safe, not guaranteed. Safe enough for one breath. Safe enough for one choice. Safe enough to stop punishing yourself. This is how you retrain your system. Now, I want to offer you one of the most powerful shifts you can make, especially if you tend to carry responsibility for everyone. Stop confusing love with overextension, because love does not require self-abandonment. Love does not demand you sacrifice your well-being. Love is not proven through depletion. And if you've been doing that, it's because somewhere you learned that your needs were inconvenient. So peace today might look like honoring a need without apologizing for it. You might say, I need rest. You might say, I need space. You might say, I can't do that right now. You might say, I'm not available for that dynamic anymore. And you don't have to explain it into acceptance. People may not like your peace at first, especially if they benefited from your struggle. Let that settle for a moment, because this is where many people backtrack. They choose peace, and then guilt arises. They worry they're selfish. They worry they're disappointing someone. And I want you to hear this clearly. Choosing peace is not selfish. Choosing peace is stewardship. When you are at peace, you are more present, more clear, more loving, more wise. You become a safer place for others, not because you rescue them, but because you're not leaking anxiety into everything you touch. If you've been craving solitude, it's because your energy is asking for restoration, not isolation. Restoration. So let peace restore you. Now let's make this even more practical. I'm going to give you a simple peace over struggle checklist you can run internally throughout the day, not as a rigid rule, but as a loving question. When you feel tension rising, ask, am I trying to control something I cannot control? If yes, peace says, release what isn't yours. Ask, am I making this mean something about my worth? If yes, peace says, my worth is not up for debate. Ask, am I rushing because I'm afraid? If yes, peace says, I can move with steadiness. Ask, am I abandoning my body right now? If yes, peace says, come back, breathe, feel your feet. These questions are not to judge you, they're to guide you home.